Jump in with 2 feet, and if people believe that you can do it, believe it in yourself,
Right.
that you can do it.
Today's episode is part 1 of my special Women in the Wild series recorded at the recent Outdoor Photo Alliance conference. Join me as I chat with conference guests and wild women Nicole Messner, Stephanie Hogue, Betsy Botsford, Kayla Crouch, and Karen Vopel. I'm excited to share these inspiring conversations from female photographers filled with personal stories and conference reflections. Check out the episode description for links to their work and more. Now on to the episode. Let's go. We'll just hit record now. Now we're recording. Okay, so wait, hang on a second. It's Nicole Messner, right? Is that how you say it? Okay, awesome. And so will you just, so tell us your website or your Instagram or how people can look at your work or contact you or whatever.
Perfect. So I'm Nicole Messner. My Instagram for my new venture in landscape and wildlife is at Nicole Justine Photo. So I'm in a little bit of a change right now, which is fun.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk. I was like, oh, can we talk about that? I'm going to move my mic just a little bit. Because I think this is interesting because I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm doing this one thing, but now I'm transitioning to this other. And I really think like in photography, you maybe start with one thing and then you become, we're both in it. Yes. She's recording video and I'm like, yeah, we're both in it. We can see. So like how it's like, how do you transition from one to the other? So tell us like what you're doing, what your like primary thing is and what you're now interested in and what that transition looks like.
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple months really, but so I've been heavy focused on boudoir for the last 4 years and really built a name where we live for that, and that's how everybody knows me now. But in my personal time, I travel a lot, hike a lot, and I'm always shooting and documenting that. And every time I come back from something, I'm like, God, I really need to do more with this. They just sit on my camera or my laptop, and sometimes I post them and then I just get lost. But I got this itch where I'm like, I really need to lean into this. I love travel. I love being outside, and I love boudoir. But the hang up I have is it is inside a lot, and I'm like, oh, I'm missing fresh air and getting out and about. So my friend that I'm with here is Stephanie.
Who's next?
Yes, who's up next? Really excited about it too. We've kind of touched on, she's been a mentor and a friend and someone I talked to over the years. So it's kind of a funny dynamic where I went to her to ask about mixing that in and what she did when she was dueling her landscape and wedding. And then it turns out she was kind of looking for another artist to come in and work with. So
awesome.
Divine timing.
Always.
Yeah.
I think the universe always has a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So it sounds like it's helpful to like not just do it on your own, but work with someone or get to know someone who's doing the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
Tell me, what about the like internal struggle between the two?
It's very different modes. Really shined a light on that the other week. We got some unexpected weather where we live. We rarely get snow, but snow fell on our mountaintop. So I jammed out at sunrise, shot the snow, did that 2 days in a row, and then I had to transition and go to a boudoir session. And I was like, okay. I was laughing because I was in, my hiking clothes, messy, cold, no makeup, no hair done. And then I had to transition into this very professional, cute boudoir ready. And like, I'm just with my dog all morning, being cold and just out and about. And then I'm like, okay, professional face on, got to go work with a person.
Right, with a person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like get back into that, like holding the space for them instead of really just, when I was driving around, I'm just on my own program and seeing what the light did and what the landscape did. So it went from very natural and seeing what happened. So, okay, we're posing and this is what we're going to do and how are you feeling? And so like working those two worlds in one day was very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds to me, a little mentally complicated, but I feel like if you can make those two transition, like if you can transition okay, especially if you're like, well, the boudoir photography like makes me money, but I can do this other thing, like maybe, I don't even know what you want to do with it, but like as a hobby, but also I think there's space. I really do think there's space to mix. I
Yeah.
don't think it has to be one or the other.
Well, and that's the beautiful and hard part of photography is you can shoot whatever you want, you know. You can focus on glassware, trees, it doesn't matter. So it's hard. You feel limited, I think, on Instagram because people want to see that focus and you want to be known for something. But in the world, you can shoot whatever you see. So trying to bridge that gap, and my 2 pages are my 2 like very distinct sides of my personality. It's like very dark, moody boudoir, and then my like fun nature, light, bright colors. So it's an interesting tool that I'm working with right now, but those 2 combined are me, I guess.
But I think a lot of us have like not dual personalities, but we have multiple facets of ourselves. And it sounds like you're like, I'm going to explore this other facet of myself. And so I think, you know, when you are a creative person, you can do that. Yeah.
And what I found for people that are struggling to do dual subjects is a lot of my boudoir clients are following my landscape wildlife, and they're really giving me the feedback like it's nice to watch somebody just go after something new and not feel like this was my path and this is the only path I can be on.
Yes. Great example. Okay, that's awesome. Will you tell us one last thing, which is, what are you loving about this conference full of women photographers? It's awesome.
We're only 3 speakers in, but I love everybody's different stories. And again, where they found their path, and everybody's interests have been so different. The way they're looking at it and how they got into it has been so interesting. So I always love the stories of how people got to where they are and what sparked that interest.
Awesome.
So
well,
thanks for having us.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Thanks for being my first interviewee or my first conversation. So, okay, I'm really bad with names. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. Okay, Stephanie, tell us your full name, and then tell us how to tell us your website or your Instagram or whatever you want, so people can look at your work.
Sure. My name's Stephanie Hogue. And I have a couple Instagrams because I have a gallery where I'm the owner of a gallery with a partner, and we call that Latitudes Gallery. So we have at Latitudes Photo is our Instagram. But I like to try to keep my separate identity a little bit. So I have also at Hogue Photo, which is sort of more of a personal but also semi-professional page that I try to, keep some more behind the scenes sort of.
It's your personal work.
My personal work.
And the gallery is your business.
Exactly. Like you'll see my dog photos on my personal page.
We want to see your dog
like
photos.
when I'm at the beach with my dog. But I don't put that on the gallery page too much.
Wait, so did you tell me you had 2 galleries? Okay.
But yes, okay, I don't know where to start. So the first gallery is in Ventura, California.
Okay, awesome.
And we started that it started about 15 years ago, but we've had the gallery on Main Street in Ventura for 13 years. And then, crazily, about 2 years after we opened that gallery, we opened another one in Kauai.
Like they said, crazily.
Crazily. We were insane. I look back and I'm not sure how we had the guts to do that, but my partner, I have a business partner who is a great friend, and we inspire each other, but he is a surfer and a waterman, and he really wanted to live on the islands, and so he wanted to move there and open a gallery there, and he runs that one, and I run this one because it really wasn't making sense having both of us at the same gallery all the time. And anyways, my husband, who I'm married to, is in Ventura, and he is a printer, so we're kind of all sort of integrated and have built the galleries together.
So it all works.
It all works really well.
That is awesome. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, I feel like you're a wealth of things to talk about. I'm just looking at you, and I already know that she's a wealth of things to talk about. So I know you said nature and landscape, but what's your favorite thing to photograph, and what is something that unique about your art?
Well, I think what's unique about my art is I come from 20 years of wedding photography, so I didn't mention that at first.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you were interviewing Nicole
yeah.
earlier and about the transition into like changes in your career and sort of craving something different and expanding and not kind of almost feeling like you're getting into a little of a rut because you've been doing something for a long time. Well, that's where I started getting interested in doing fine art nature photography, but it was an interesting transition that I could talk about for hours. But to put it simply, I was kind of bored and burnt out on weddings, and my friend who was doing amazing ocean and wildlife photography out at the Channel Islands National Park inspired me to start taking my camera out when I wasn't working, which is something I wasn't doing as a wedding photographer. Like, I would finish work and put my camera away, and I didn't even think of going out and taking pictures of beautiful things I saw in nature. And when I started doing that, I got lit up again. I got excited. And so I feel like one of my specialties is I bring this wealth of time photographing over 20 years and seeing beautiful light and photographing beautiful events and people, and I kind of bring that into nature and landscapes with my, so a lot of my work has a really light and airy feel.
I'm already imagining.
Yeah, because
yes,
I always
yes.
made brides look pretty and angelic.
Well, yeah,
and,
we want that.
right, and so I seem to apply that same look to a lot of the nature things that where I get inspired when I see that light, beautiful
Right.
backlight, angelic soft light. So that's where I sort of got grounded in my style and my look. But even now, 15 years later, doing that type of work, I'm wanting more drama, soulful. So I'm starting to shift again.
As we do.
We do. I feel like I'm
Yes.
on this 10-year cycle. Like about 10 years in, I'm going to get a little bit bored. I need a little more something. I need to push myself. But for 10 years, I'll latch onto something, and I will put 1,000% of my energy into it. And I love it, and I'm so passionate, and I know where I'm going. And then I start to be like, looking for
What could be new?
something new. And that's kind of why we're here today for me. Surprisingly, I feel isolated with my gallery. I mean, I have my wonderful clients, I have my staff. My business partner lives in Kauai, and he was sort of my that friend that pushes you to be better, to go out and shoot with.
Yes.
And I don't have that anymore, so I'm kind of looking for more community and that's where Nicole has really come in, because she inspires me with her youth and her vision and her passion for what she's doing. And it's, at my stage in my career, I'm in a different place. So it's really fun to see it through her eyes. And it's getting me inspired again, too. So I think it's amazing, like just at this place I'm in life, just to see the cycles of life and inspiration and where you're going with, goals and staying I will always be curious and excited, but sometimes I don't know where to put that. And
Maybe same. Or like figure it out. Like we figure it out on the way. Yes.
this energy, but I love being at my most engaged. And it's hard when it's all scattered and I'm not sure where to put that energy. So it's really fun. So I'm bringing Nicole in to just help mentor, but really I think I'm going to be getting the most out of it.
For sure. I can already tell. That's a for sure.
Don't tell her that.
And I think what I'm hearing from you is you're here at this conference, and it's the energy of all the different, there's so many different kinds of women here.
It's amazing.
Doing different kinds of things, also in transition, also looking to expand their creativity
Yes.
and grow. And I love putting myself in the place. And we're in the place. Yeah.
Just being in a room. I mean, I'm amazed at the amount of people that are here, and just to have so many like-minded, creative, passionate people together.
Right.
You never know what sparks are going to explode, and it's so fun. You go home from this kind of thing so excited and inspired, and with new friends. That was my thing. I just haven't found a lot of friends that are doing what I want to do, you know. And sometimes you have to go outside of your small. We're in kind of a smaller town, and just seek out those people.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the, because I know the founders of OPA, and I know that was one of the things. Like, we sometimes do feel isolated, and like, how do you find your people more? Like, we can do it online, but doing it in person is
Yeah, I want to meet in person. I want someone to get up with me before dawn and go out in the dark and look for, wildlife or any, whatever. Something you got to get out there to see it. And most people have regular jobs, or they're just not gonna push themselves to set an alarm and get out in the cold
at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m.
Fine.
Yep, exactly.
It's fine.
So it's fun to find those people.
Awesome. Well, thank you for chatting with me, Stephanie. That was really fun. All right, you did great for your first time on mic. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it. On to the next. All right, number 3.
All right, here I am.
You're number 3, Betsy.
All right, here I am.
Okay, so I'm with Betsy Botsford. Will you just tell everyone like a website they can go to, or your Instagram, or how can they see your work?
Sure. So my name is Betsy Botsford. I do landscape photography. My Instagram is pointoflightphoto_. And then my website is www.pointoflightphoto.com.
Awesome. It'll be all linked.
Okay,
But like,
awesome.
if you're dying right now to go see Betsy's work, which I think you are, you can go look it up.
I think that's a good idea.
Awesome. Okay, well, this is what's interesting for me is to be able to chat with so many women who have all kinds of different stories or different backgrounds or things that they're interested in. So you do landscape. Will you just give us a little bit of like what you love to photograph?
Oh, reflections. I will photograph a reflection every single day. I love to photograph mountains. And I find that as I grow as a photographer, I photograph more trees.
Oh.
Trees alone in the field, trees in the fog, dead aspens surrounded by colorful aspens, and the metaphor for life and death with that.
Yeah, and you're Colorado based, yeah?
I am. I'm on the west slope of Colorado.
Okay.
So I live in a town called Austin, which is literally like 12 people.
Austin, like Austin, Texas, where I live?
Austin, Colorado, like Austin, Texas.
Well, if you live in Austin, you're cool, just saying.
Well, if you live in Austin, Colorado, you're cool too. Both are very cool places.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so right before we started recording, you were telling me, like, this is my story. This is, like, what is meaningful to me. So tell us more.
Okay, so when I was 15, I grew up in a very middle-class family, but my parents loved to travel. So we went to Seattle, and we ate at a fancy restaurant, which both my parents grew up poor, and we never went out for fancy restaurants, but we did. And when we left that fancy restaurant, after filling our bellies with really good food and feeling very fancy, I walked out of the restaurant and there was a homeless person laying in the middle of the gutter. I mean, literally in the gutter. And people were just walking by like this person didn't exist. And my 15-year-old heart just really broke. And I said, when I'm grown up, I'm going to do something about this. So I grew up and went career to career to career, and finally found a career that I could make some money and I could put things into camera gear. So I started Point of Light Photo. I came up with Point of Light as a name because of George H.W. Bush. He had the 1,000 Points of Light initiative. And the idea about the 1,000 Points of Light initiative was that if each one of us did something small, each little light would turn into 1,000 points of light. So I started Point of Light Photo, and now I give the profit from the sale of my photography to organizations that help the homeless. I give every year to a project called Project Street Vet, where they go out and they administer vet services for free to homeless people that have pets. I give to an organization that's Roycehurst Humane Society in Grand Junction. They provide one of the only housing situations for homeless people where they can keep their pet with them. So that's the work I do, and I'm really passionate about it. It's given my life some purpose after some death. In 2016, I had a boyfriend that was killed in a car accident. And then, like 2 weeks before he died, I found out I had skin cancer. And skin cancer is not necessarily a bad diagnosis, but my surgery happened about 2 weeks after he died, and I thought it was going to be no big deal, but I was alone all of a sudden. And when they filled my scalp with lidocaine to remove it, The next morning I woke up and that lidocaine had drained out of my scalp into my face. My whole face was swollen shut. And I had nobody. My boyfriend was dead, and so I had nobody to get me groceries. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't do anything. And so there I was, really trapped in my house.
Alone.
And then about 2 weeks after that, my mom got sick. And 4 months later, my mom died. And so it was like my camera became my lifesaver. I had to get out. I had to go do something. And my camera brought me into all of these beautiful remote places where you could heal and you could be with the quiet of nature and capture these amazing moments that when you brought them home, you could say, hey, look at what I saw. And it became very healing. And then I used that photography to heal other people through the sale of that photography.
Do you have any stories about, well, you don't have to have a story, but like, are there any instances where you know that something that you've done specifically helped anyone else?
Yes, and it actually has to do with my photography, but not with sales. I have a fairly decent Facebook following. I have about 6,500 people that follow me, and I've had multiple people write to me. One gentleman, he's had a stroke, and he's now wheelchair bound, but he constantly comments on my photos because it helps take him out. He has no mobility anymore,
Right.
but he gets out. And then I've had another woman who's in cancer treatment right now with chemo, and she's a huge fan because of that same reason. She says, I can't get out anymore, but your photos take me places. So I know that even though they're not buying photos, they're having an impact from what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a lot of us want to have an impact. And so however we do it, I mean, we're all unique, right? So we're all going to have our unique way of doing it. I certainly think the way you're doing it is unique. And I'm like, you guys, hang on a second. While she's talking, before when she was talking about the homeless man in the gutter, like your eyes were, there were no tears, but it's very tender for you, I can tell. And so we all have those things that we're passionate about, that we feel like need to be done, or things that have touched us that in a way that makes us want to help or change something. And so and so however we do it, I think is really important for us all to express that in our unique way. And I love that you're doing it in your way and bringing that your passion of the outdoors and what you love, like your trees, right, to other people who aren't able to experience, and then using that also to influence other people, like help. I think it's amazing to help.
Yes, I agree. I think that, Tony Robbins is one of the biggest influencers in my life.
For sure.
He's just a freaking beast, But one of the things he's always saying is the secret to living is giving. And shortly after my boyfriend had died, I was standing in the grocery store, and it was right after Thanksgiving, and the cashier said, "Would you like to donate $1 to feed to feed a family this year or whatever?" And inside I was screaming, no, I want somebody to donate some money to me because my life is falling apart right now. But something inside of me, there was another little voice that said, yes, you should donate. So I gave $1. I was like, okay, I'll give $1. And it was like from that moment forward, the moment I started giving, my life turned around. And it became very, very powerful to me. I feel like we have so much. We really, really have so much in this country. And if each one of us just gave a little bit, we could really create something beautiful together.
And it doesn't have to be money.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
Right.
That's the awesome
I
thing.
mean, people can mentor other people, and just, giving of yourself, opening a door for somebody, being kind, offering a compliment. All those things grow goodness.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's enough.
All right.
I hope you all enjoyed that. I sure did.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Betsy. All right. I'm always sad when I sign off, even if it's a short conversation, but on to the conference. Oh, shoot. One more thing. Will you just tell us, because I've been asking everybody, I need a little script. I'm trying not to make it scripted, but I want to know, what is it that you're getting out of this conference right now? What's what's cool for you, or what's amazing that you're experiencing?
So I think it's that theme that I keep hearing people say. I needed to go pursue my passion. I needed to go do something that I was stuck in corporate America and I was dying inside. And then I decided to pursue my passion and use my camera to do that. That's the theme I keep finding, that people here are talking about healing from trauma, finding their passion, finding a place in the world, and not being afraid to do what is uniquely them. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay,
Well,
now
thank
we're
you.
done.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm back. I'm here with Kayla Crouch, and what you're going to hear in the background is we're just breaking for the end of day 2. Yeah, so now everyone's coming out, so it might be kind of loud, but we're going to record anyway, right? Because this is what it's about.
We'll just do it and see what the sound is like.
Right, exactly. So well, I love that so Kayla was just telling me, I'm like, what are you passionate about? And what do you want to say? Because what I'm doing here is asking women who believe they have something to say to just come and talk to me. And so you just said, I'm on a journey. So tell me more about that.
So today we had Sherry May talk about her journey and Charlotte Gibb talk about her journey. And I felt like I resonated with some of the things that they said, having spent a lot of their life sacrificing for the family and for their husband's dreams and various things. And I feel like I'm maybe 10 years behind them, maybe 15. I don't know ages.
So you feel
but in that I'm still in the thick of parenting. Some of my kids are a little bit older so that I can start to claim some space for myself again. But I'm still in that very emotional space, trying to redefine myself, figure out who I am without outside my family structure. And photography has always been really important to me. I found photography through a high school class that I took, and just absolutely had this wow moment that just was like, this is it. This is the rest of my life. So I went to college, graduated with my BA in photography from BYU.
Oh.
But then jumped into married and babies so fast, and really just did that for so many years while I tried to kind of do some here and there, sprinkled throughout, but it wasn't very much. And it's really been this journey in the last few years as I've struggled with postpartum for my last baby and various things to really push back and claim space for myself.
How old is your youngest?
My youngest is 3.
Okay.
My oldest is 15.
Okay. And how many do you have?
5.
It's cool. I have 4. I feel what's so interesting is, and I really know nothing about you until this conversation. So I too went to BYU, and I studied music, but I always was like, why didn't I study photography? Why didn't I get a minor in photography? And I also had so many years, I had my first baby when I was 20, and I'm just now, in the past few years, they're all adults now. And so I'm not saying that you should wait for that, because I feel like you're I'm not waiting for that. My youngest is 3, let's go. Right.
Yeah.
But I think when you are doing having babies takes a toll on your body, right? And your energy.
Yeah.
Babies, we love you. Kids, we love you. You're an energy suck.
Major. Yes.
I mean, they do take a lot of energy. And so finding that time, for you is also, can be really difficult when you're in that. And so I totally feel that, I want space for me. So how are you finding that now? And I know you're want even more, I see you going, oh, I want this. I can see this is a big desire. How are you doing that now?
So right now, last summer, I don't even know how I stumbled on it, but there was a 100 Days of Nature challenge that I joined that basically runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day for that 100 days, and to try and get out every single day. which is really hard with kids. However,
And also important for kids.
and important for kids. So
if you want your children with you.
I know. And I sort of fudged a little bit. Like there were days that I would get more than one good thing so that there's a little fudging along the way. It wasn't necessarily every single day. But at the same time, my macro lens was still pretty new to me. So I really leaned into what is around me right now that I can do right now, which became a lot of flowers. So flowers are the most accessible thing. My neighborhood is really amazing for landscaping their yards. And it really became this okay, everyone's still asleep as sunrise is coming up. I'm going to run out for a half an hour and see what I can get. And so there was a lot of photographing just around my town and my neighbors' yards. And sometimes I had permission to go in there, and sometimes we had awkward moments where I thought I had permission and it didn't.
You're like, it's okay, I'm a mom, don't worry about it.
Well, one was really funny because some of my neighbors were getting the word out that this is what I was doing. And so they were seeing my work and they were being like, oh, you know what? I have a flower. Oh, you know what? I have a flower.
I love hopeful people
And I
like
got
that.
texted from a number who I thought was the wife of the family, saying, oh, I have this flower, you should come photograph it. But it was actually the husband. And he hadn't informed his wife that he'd given permission for me to be in their yard. And she was the first one up that morning. And she was really forgiving and really nice about it. But it was still really awkward conversation to have
Because you were wearing a black hoodie that was over your head. So no,
it wasn't so much scary as much as she opened her window and was like, why is Kayla in my backyard? Not front yard, my backyard. I felt really bad about that one. So I've again, you learn from your mistakes, and I started making sure if someone contacts me and is like, hey, please come photograph this, I'll be like, so let everyone in your house know that I'm coming.
And what I love about this is because you're talking about it and putting it out there, community loves to rally around people who are doing a project.
Yeah.
And so they were like, Kayla, let's help you make that easier,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what I find is really special and really fun, and probably makes your part of the journey extra cool, is that everyone around you is like, hey, come here, I got this cool thing. Where are you based out of?
So I'm out of Taylorsville, which is just a suburb of Salt Lake City. So I'm out of Utah.
It's north, right? No.
It's southwest of Salt Lake City.
I can't remember. I was
But
just
it's
there, but
totally
I can't
fine.
remember. Okay, go ahead.
It's totally fine. But I've also gotten into wildflowers in Utah. When they were talking about being a naturalist, I really resonated with that too, because I have a friend who is she's a wildflower tour guide.
Oh.
That one of the ski resorts every year does these wildflower tours when it blooms.
Which one? So everyone knows.
Oh my gosh.
We'll
You're
put it
really
in-
going to put my
We'll
challenge.
put it in the notes. Okay, go ahead. We'll
put it
find
in-
it and put it in the notes. In case you want to go to Utah.
Right? So yeah, they do a wildflower tour every year, and she helps lead tours. And so I've gone hiking with her, and she's taught me more and more about wildflowers and gotten me more interested in it. And so it's really kind of sparked that curiosity and that interest, and made me want to look for more of them as I go. Because before, the first time I went on a hike with her, it was really funny because I was constantly looking up at the clouds and what the light was doing at sunset with the clouds. And I was like, oh, look up, guys, look up. And she was doing the opposite. And then she was like, look down. Do you see this one? Do you see that one? And so it was a really funny experience, but it also taught me to see things that I was missing.
Differently.
And especially Utah wildflowers, and I'm sure other high mountain wildflowers are really tiny.
Yes.
Because they're so high up in elevation. So you do miss them. You are not necessarily paying attention because they're so tiny. So especially learning about them and then finding my macro lens to get in really close. Some of those have been really fun to do too.
That's awesome. So, oh shoot, I had a question I was going to ask you. So I'll ask you this question. So, I know the question. Yay, me. So are you able to sometimes I found it helpful to leave the rest of kids at home, because I think this is interesting to navigate having a family while you're in the thick of it,
Mm-hmm.
or while you do your work or your hobby. whatever it is, what you're passionate about. So are you able to take, I know you're able to take time away a little bit by yourself, but do you sometimes take one with you and have that like special time and kind of show them like, this is what I do?
Yes. So I actually homeschool as well. And so I have
Sorry, I homeschooled all my kids in separate times too. Kayla's leading my 15 year ago self.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I've actually had each of them take a intro photography course
Cool.
at some point
Yeah.
or other. And some of them have resonated more with others, and that's totally fine. But it's one of those things that I'm like, computer engineers teach their kids coding really early. So I'm a photographer. I'm going to teach you
right.
this early.
Pianists teach their kids piano.
Yeah. And as a mom, I know that everyone's moving mirrorless, so picking up old SLRs for my kids is a really I'm like, you can have, here's a camera, let's figure it out. Anyway, so they've all come with me at different times. My oldest is to the point that he doesn't care. He'll just stay home, and that's totally
He's a
fine.
teenager in a sulky stage. I get it.
My 13-year-old is actually my favorite hiking buddy. He's up for a good long hike and will be there the whole time with me and take pictures, and he's pretty great. And then I have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old that like it to a point. And if they come with me, it means we have to get donuts after. There's definitely bribery involved if they're gonna.
I'm not past bribery. Sounds like you're not either.
I'm not either.
It's fine.
I try to leave the 3-year-old home as much as I can because I don't want to pack him and my camera. So a lot of the time I'll go on weekends and stuff so that my husband can keep the youngest one at home. But he also does not like to be left behind. So as he gets older, I am sure that he will demand to come more often.
Yeah, probably. Well, it's interesting to hear about how you're navigating photography and what you really want to do, and honor your role as a mom and do the things that you want to do, like homeschooling. That's not an easy task, and you're around your children a lot, right? They don't all go to school, and you have hours on end to do what you want or whatever.
Yes,
so.
It is very overwhelming, and there are definitely times where I get super stressed, and my husband will just kick me out of the house. Take your camera, go away, come back happier. That is how we operate in so many ways.
We love him.
We do love him. He is very aware of what I need, and I appreciate that.
Awesome. Okay, I have one last question. So now that you've been, and we'll circle back to kind of where we started at the beginning. Now that you've been here, knowing this journey that you're on, knowing what you want, what do you now feel inspired to do as you? It's our Tamron guy pecking up. What do you now feel inspired to do as you move forward and go home? Do you have any feelings about that yet, or have you formulated that?
I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like for me, but I think it's really curious to find that there's residencies that are kind of being missed, that are opportunities out there that people aren't applying for. I have no idea how to make that work with a family at the stage that we're at, but it's definitely something I'm going to start researching and trying to see if there's something that would fit. Either now or in the future to work towards, because she said that the application process is usually rigorous. So getting a sense of that in advance feels really important. Or even just being able to spend time to figure out what sort of kind of project would be funded for something like that. So I don't know. So I'm thinking about that one. I'm thinking about becoming more of a naturalist and the things that were discussed with that.
By Sarah Maria.
Yes. I'm so glad that you can recall names so much faster than I can. I want to know everyone well.
I'm on it.
But also considering trying to find a mentor and figure out who would be a good fit for that going forward. Because I do think that community and that mentorship sounds really appealing to me. I don't know where to start with that yet either. But I feel all of it requires to go home and process and research and think about
Yeah.
for a while before we really start doing things.
Yeah. And then something that Charlotte Gibb talked about today was intuition and using your intuition to move forward. And I have a feeling that you'll do that.
I hope so.
I believe in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Do you have an Instagram or website, or you don't have to have a website?
No, I launched my website just last year, so it's only a year old.
Oh, tell us what it is.
My
Give
little
us the
baby.
URL.
KaylaCrouch.com.
Awesome.
Just selling prints best I can.
Is
And
that the same as Instagram?
yeah, KaylaCrouch.photography is me on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here.
I'm thrilled to be here. This has been really fun.
Good.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you in the next conversation.
Bye.
Okay. It's just so funny to like record out here, and Shanda's speaking now, so we're going to record and then go listen to Shanda. Sorry, Shanda. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm here with Karen Vopel. Karen, will you tell everyone? I usually do like an intro where I say people's website and about them, but will you just tell us like your website or how people can look at your work, and then we'll chat more about you.
Okay, thank you. So, my name is Karen Vopel, and I am from the southeastern plains of Colorado. So there are no mountains where I live. I am on the prairie, and my husband and I have a farm and ranch. And there's just some beautiful wildlife there. A lot of things that people don't understand about because you just want to travel right through it because all you see is the browns, and there's so much more there. So we have an organic alfalfa farm, and we raise alfalfa for racehorses, cattle, and it's just a specialty niche that my husband has. So, yeah. So,
awesome.
And I've lived there for quite a while. I'm a retired court reporter, and so I sat in court all of my life in four walls. And I started hiking and getting out more, and then I started doing photography, and it transitioned into retreats for women and just going on photographic journeys. So that's where I am right now.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you were telling me what you're passionate about. What kind of photography are you passionate about? I want to hear more about it.
Well, I love horses. I love Western. Anything Western. I help film ranches, photograph ranches, and any of the lifestyle of Western people, particularly the women, because there's a lot to be told about women who have been on ranches and have helped side by side with men, but they don't get their due. And so there's just some rich history on the prairie, which we are right by the Santa Fe Trail. So that history comes in play too.
It's so interesting because I've been talking, I spoke briefly with Victoria Hack, and we were all kind of saying how we love photographing. You find things to photograph where you live, and it kind of becomes it gets in your blood. And yeah, and so you end up becoming passionate about it because it's like where you are.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And you have to find it. Here, it's easy to look up at the mountain and say it's beautiful. On the plains, you've got to roam. And that's what I love the most, is just roaming around in all kinds of weather. Get me out in dust. I'll clean my camera later. But there are some wonderful dust pictures.
Yeah, because it creates atmosphere. It's awesome.
Yes.
Dust, blowing sand, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, we want it.
Yeah. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was stumbling around on the prairie and found this unique group called Southeast Colorado Prairie Association. And I had no idea these people were there. And we ran into each other, which is a long story, but it's come after 5 years. We've gotten to be such good friends, and I can go out to their prairie, which they have bought so far 57,000 acres that they're saving the prairie. And now they have the buffalo or bison and wild horses, donkeys, plus all of the prairie life that is coming back. This past year, they just had their first beaver sighting on one of their streams. That they haven't seen a beaver out there in years. So it's so fascinating, the bugs and the prairie life and flowers, and it's gotten me more into all of that.
Yeah, we just heard from Sarah Marino, who was talking
Yes.
about being a naturalist and being more curious about nature and about what's around you, and I hear that from you.
Yeah, she inspired me to just like, you better get out there more.
Go do it more. Yes, same.
Yeah,
It's so good.
Yeah,
So good.
Yeah.
I just think some of the things that you're doing are so fascinating. I feel like you have this like rich background that I feel like we're like barely scratching the surface of it. So
It's been so fun. I mean, just wonderful things have been thrown my way just by being aware and asking questions. And so through our costuming with the two men that I work with.
wait, pause.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
Okay.
Tell us about what you do.
Okay. So I have been partners with two gentlemen who have been making Native American clothing replicas of the Cheyenne and Kiowa Indians from only the era of 1870 to 1880. And they bead and they make this beautiful clothing out of cloth. They used to, in their younger days, would go and kill a buffalo, tan the hide, make sure
So it's authentic.
it's so that it's authentic. They are completely authentic for the era. They try very hard to be, and they've read so much, and they're very historically correct as much as they can be, which they're probably 99% spot on, according to some of the other history buffs that we know. So I work with them as their photographer. We set up scenes. For instance, they will set up teepees, and we will have a fire going in the teepee with a young Native American man and woman who are cooking, and I take the photos of them doing the scene, and then we put them in a website format that is private, where only Western artists can go to this private site and they can buy our photos to paint from. And so they paint from our photos, and then they can sell them or enter them. They have the rights to that photo. So it's an immense process.
This is such an interesting niche to and an interesting way to diversify an income stream.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also hear that it's fascinating for you
Yes.
as well. But
Well,
I mean, if you can make those two things work together, I think that's amazing.
Right. Well, I never knew what a parfleche was before.
What is that?
It's like an envelope type carry-all that the natives had that they painted, and it's either a buffalo hide or an elk hide, and it's tanned, and it's a beautiful piece of wear that they take with them on their travels, and they put their blankets in or their beads or whatever, and it's called a parfleche. And I never knew that. I mean, there's so many things that I had no idea. Like, oh, can't they just jump on a horse? Can't that woman just jump on a horse and go ride and be a warrior? No, women did not touch the horses of the warriors. They did not touch them. And so when we do our photographs, we make sure that all of those little nuances are followed, that the natives followed in
Historically
that
accurate.
period. in that period.
yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, that is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. We've gotten caught a few times, like that didn't happen. And so
Oh my gosh, these must be people who are being like really close attention to detail, but that's helpful because
much.
now you know what to like not do or do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very much so.
So interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of interesting, you guys, Karen, I feel like we could just like chat for hours because you're a multi-passionate woman, Karen, and I love it. So tell us about the other thing that you do.
So through the two men that I work with, we were hired, first of all, to do a documentary on Native American culture, and they were asked to do the costuming. And so that's how I started being the photographer for, number one, this first documentary that we did. And we they did the Native American costumings for it. I'm not sure if you know the name Mo Brings Plenty, but he is in, I'm throwing out a name, everybody, sorry. But
Look it
anyway,
up.
he
Go
is
look it
in
up.
Yellowstone, and he's one of the Native Americans that's featured in the Yellowstone series.
Oh.
So his name is Mo Brings Plenty, and he was in one of our
I haven't
documentaries.
watched that yet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I guess I'll have to watch
very
it now.
nice
I have
man.
to watch it now.
Very wonderful family and all of that. So then Ken Spurgeon, who was the director for this documentary, started a movie which is called Sod and Stubble, and it was written in the 1930s. So it's a movie taken from a book called Sod and Stubble, and it's a true story about a couple who met on the East Coast and decided to take their wagon to western Kansas, a place called Downs, Kansas, and settle there. And the woman, Rose, was only 17 and her husband was quite a bit older. And they had 9 kids and she raised them. And
Y'all didn't see my eyes get wide.
and I think 8 of them went to college because she only had 1 day of schooling, Rose did. And it's this movie about this couple coming across the prairie and their whole life story. And so it is now out, and it was chosen by the Chandler International Film Festival to be the best Western. And I was the continuity photographer for the movie, one of the continuity photographers. And so I was able to go on site for every scene and take pictures as needed or just throughout the scene so that they would put them, the director and so forth, would have these in files so that 2 weeks later, if they wanted to go back to that scene and see what earrings the Rose was wearing, for instance, they could go back to that scene to recreate it exactly how it was so that they could redo that scene somehow. So the photography that we did was very helpful as a continuity for the whole movie, which was really exciting because I'd never done it before.
How was that being on set? And like, so did you have a lot of liberty with what you were doing, or did they tell you exactly? Did you have like a shot list and then whatever else you needed to do? Like, how did that work?
I had so much liberty. It was free.
Oh, how amazing.
I could go like underneath a tent and be on my belly, basically, taking photographs of the scene. Now, if I was in the way, they would say, photographer out of the way, or photographer step back. But they wanted me to take photos. And so they were not limiting me, and they just said, go for it. So I don't know if that's because of their inexperience or my inexperience. I don't know.
It just sounded like they trusted you. Maybe.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So afterwards, I looked up continuity photographer classes because I thought maybe I could do this. Maybe this would be really, really fun.
Okay, wait, pause. Y'all, listen, did you hear this? She became a continuity photographer before she knew how to do it. And so I think so often we hold ourselves back because we're like, we have to learn that thing first. Like, I have to take a class or I have to do a thing. And this is so not true.
Yeah. Just jump in with 2 feet, and if people believe that you can do it, believe it in yourself.
Right.
That you can do it.
Yeah.
And if you make mistakes, like for instance,
Well, you're going to make mistakes.
yes.
I mean, 100%.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I had just gotten, I've shoot Nikon Z8 and Z9, and I had my Z8 that I was shooting with because it's lighter, and also I was camping, so I was staying in my RV, and I was kind of on a hill, and I was stupid enough to put it on the table, and when I walked away from it, it fell off and broke. And thank you that I had the Z9. And so I had to carry that monster around for the other 2 weeks. Because this was like the second day of my job, so to speak.
This stuff happens.
It does.
It happens, right? So
Yeah.
bring a backup camera. Make sure you have insurance on your camera.
Exactly.
All the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lens broke too.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I had to use a different lens, and I thought, the best lens that I love.
No, you made it work.
Yeah, you just make it work.
You just make it work.
Yeah. So it was really fun. So, I would love to do it again. We'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see if I
Put yourself out there. I know you will. I kind of have a feeling like it'll just fall into your lap, whatever the next thing is.
It kind of happens like that. What do they call that? Organic? Yeah.
It's called, I don't know, serendipity, or like you just have a little way that things come your way, maybe.
I can do
I don't know.
that.
I know.
Right. I
I
can do
know.
that.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So, thank you. Will you tell us? I have one last question for you. Oh, I do have one last question for you. But before that, will you just tell us your website?
Okay.
And maybe, do you have an Instagram or something?
Call me crazy. I don't have a website.
Oh, fine.
But
I mean, I'm not. I was assuming,
right.
but
No, I don't. So you can find me on Facebook at Karen Fopel Photography. There you go.
VOEPEL.
Right.
There you go.
VOEPEL. And also on Instagram at KVopel_photo.
Great.
And
Awesome.
that's it.
And
Thank
now,
you.
before we go, tell us what has been, we already talked about some inspiring things, but tell us what you've been loving about this conference.
Oh my gosh.
Just one thing.
You guys, for one thing, I'm going, I got to get to know this girl. She's got such enthusiasm.
fun. I'm so glad.
Meeting the people, finding out what other people are doing,
Yeah.
and being inspired, because also when you live someplace, you think that, what else do I have out here?
Yeah.
And it's lonely
Yeah.
in a space like the prairie where there aren't very many photographers.
Or female photographers.
So true. And so this has inspired me to go out and look a little harder and be better and get the women that I know together. And that's the main thing, the inspiration. It's been great. I'm telling you, I could cry. It's been really good. It's been really good for me. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tracking me down.
I did.
She's like,
I did. I
she's like,
ran after her.
She's like, you've been so hard to find.
She flips.
I know. I didn't have caffeine yesterday, but I did a little bit today. But I am moving slower.
Yeah, you
so-
don't need that.
Yeah. Thank you. It was so
Thank
lovely
you,
chatting with you,
Brie.
Karen.
Oh my gosh, it was great. I thank you for letting me just talk about all these fun things, to let photographers know that there are more things to do in photography than
Posting on
landscape.
Instagram.
Yeah, all of the other things that we love to do. There are more out there. things out there.
So many interesting things.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Ready to elevate your photography? Go to wildwomanphotography.com for more details about co-ed retreats, women-only photography escapes, and personalized private mentoring. While you're there, you can also check out blog posts with episode transcripts and more. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to support this podcast and all these incredible wild women in photography by leaving a review or sharing with a friend. Thanks so much for listening.